All right, this is Chris from IBN Sports Wrap here with a week one wrap up and a week two preview. Got my dad here on the phone who plays fantasy football with me, having some trouble getting his contact out. So we're going to call today's episode I Can't Get My Contact Out. Week one saw some definite scoring things we didn't think. Who would have thought Sammy Watkins would be number one? I mean, I had Christian McCaffrey ranked my number one running back, and he was. Austin Ekeler, Deshaun Jackson, John Ross, all top guys. Lamar Jackson, we knew coming into it he was feast or famine, and boy, did he feast last week. Dak, DeAndre Hopkins, Deshaun Watson, Hollywood Brown, Derrick Henry, T.Y., Evan Ingram. We saw a Cleveland Browns team everyone thought was going to the Super Bowl just completely fall apart. Derek Carr got the ball out in 1.9 seconds, so Vaughn and Chubb did not feast. And we saw a snoozer Thursday night with Rodgers and Trubisky, Browns and Bears, and we saw the Patriots destroy the Steelers. Now, I got my dad on the phone, and his team name is Breezeburger in Paradise because last year he had Breeze and Roethlisberger, and I think it's kind of funny. So this year, Dad, you've got Rodgers and Roethlisberger both coming off two bad games. Who are you going to go with in week two?
I got Big Ben as my backup. I guess I'll probably ask you and figure out who's playing and who's playing stronger teams and stronger defenses. But right now, I'm going to give Rodgers another chance and probably go with Big Ben because I'm an old Steelers fan from the days of Terry Bradshaw. That's what I'm looking at right now.
Exactly. Makes a good point. Got to look at the matchups and who is playing who. Who's got the tougher matchup this week? Green Bay or Pittsburgh? Got to look into that. Don't know the schedule off the top of my head. So I'm going to go and say Big Ben's going to have a better week than Rodgers, but we might go ahead and change that. I know I had McCaffrey, Barkley, Kamara, and Zeke. Those are going to be the top four probably every week. We saw Chubb do nothing. Dalvin Cook tore apart everybody out there. And Austin Ekeler, can he repeat a 3-touchdown performance for the Chargers playing against a good defense this week when he played against nobody last week?
I have no idea. Right now, I'm trying to figure out. One of my great picks, along with Odell Beckham, was Antonio Brown, and I have no idea what's going through his head. I don't know if he's going to perform for New England. I don't even know if he's going to play. I just heard on the news the latest thing, he's been accused of sexual assaults and things like that. I figured I had a rap with Odell, and I had a rap with Antonio Brown, all kinds of points. Now it looks like I could be in trouble with both. That's what's on my mind right now.
That's what's on a lot of people's mind. And honestly, we don't know if what's going on with him, if he's going to play beyond the commissioner's exempt list. But right now I have him in my weekly rankings. Going on vacation tomorrow, so probably not going to be able to update these rankings. So viewers out there, you're going to have to pay attention to your own team. At the end of the day, you hit submit, not me, not Incarcerated Bob, not Matthew Berry, not Yahoo Noise and Brad, none of these guys. We put the work in. Like my dad was saying, he's going to see probably for me who Roethlisberger and Rodgers are playing, who has the better matchup. John Ross tore apart a pretty good Cincinnati defense last week, and no one really thought that Cincinnati was going to go out to Seattle and play the way they do. And they got San Francisco at home this week. I mean, the Bengals could be legit, and where the Browns could not be. What's one of your favorite parts of the drafting process there, Dad? You want to talk about Baker? I know when we talked earlier, you wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, I did 2 drafts. I did a computer draft for your league, and I did a draft where everybody shows up and picks teams. And I thought it was a lot of fun because the fact that in that room, probably 80% of the people in the draft were Browns fans, had their little Browns jerseys on, walking around talking smack about the Browns going to the Super Bowl. And the draft went on and on and on. And Baker Mayfield was up real soon, and it was probably time in the draft where these people told me that's where you start picking quarterbacks. Really didn't want to pick Baker Mayfield, but I picked Baker Mayfield so I could look at all their faces, and every one of them were waiting for their turn to take Baker. So I took him, Baker Mayfield, just to aggravate all the Browns fans. I really didn't want him to be one of my fancy guys, but I felt so good, and they don't have Baker, and I do. And I don't know anything about trading and anything else, but I figure someday they're going to give me something real good for Baker.
That's a great point you just brought up. If Baker starts tearing it apart, one of these Browns fans is going to give up a good piece just to get Baker, especially in a keeper league where you can keep one guy. I mean, it's not real popular to keep quarterbacks, but maybe the 8th round or later. If Baker tears it up as a top 5 quarterback, do you keep him and say the 8th round? Because the way our league is you keep them in the round you drafted them in, but you can't keep them 2 years in a row. So brings up some really good points. And I know you had your John Elway jersey on, Dad. What year you think you bought that John Elway jersey?
I don't know. The year they won the Super Bowl.
No, way before that. They won the Super Bowl in '98. That jersey at least from the 1980s.
I probably bought it, I don't know, in the 80s.
It's all right. So those who think, we're Broncos fans through the Manning era, my dad and I both have Broncos jerseys from the 80s. In fact, I have a John Elway jersey from when I was 6 years old that I gave to my daughter as part of like an NFL uniform thing. That's pretty awesome that she likes to wear.
Yeah. I got a little story about the Broncos. I don't know if it fits in this discussion, but I don't even know what year it was, but if you recall, we went to the Hall of Fame game, and you were
1992.
1992, so you were
10.
probably 9 years old.
9, almost 10, yeah.
And I remember getting in line with you, trying to get an Elway signature. I remember old dudes, 30s, 40s, just running. In fact, I think one of them knocked you over. So I gave it up, and you were all crying and stuff and not feeling good. So we went, but I had to get you a signature. So we went over to this rookie dude who I've never heard of, and went over there and took our horse hat and said, "Hey, would you sign this?" And Shannon Sharpe signed it, and no one was in line. So at least we had a signature for you, and you still got the Shannon Sharpe horse hat, which I think is pretty cool. I think he turned out to be an okay player.
Okay player, Hall of Famer, the same thing. And awesome thing about that story is Shannon Sharpe was number 81. And I asked him for his gloves, and he said, "I can't give them to you because I don't know if I'm going to make this team." I mean, this is back in 1992 when guys are, making nothing for money compared to what they're making now. And he's an undrafted rookie out of Savannah State, and he couldn't give me his gloves because he could not afford to buy another pair. He signed my hat, and he was number 81. And Shannon, you'll never see this, but forever grateful. Still have it. Now it's 1992. So that's pretty awesome. As always, check us out on ibnsportswrap.com. Get me on Twitter at King Scally. I have my week 2 rankings up this week. Really like Mahomes, number 1. Tom Brady went undrafted in a lot of leagues, and he's just going to tear everything apart, especially Josh Gordon, Edelman, that running back by committee, catching passes out of the backfield. And if AB ends up playing, this team could be undefeated. They are ridiculous. McCaffrey, Barkley, Kamara, Zeke, always going to be a top 4. I really like Le'Veon this week. Dalvin Cook is amazing. Josh Jacobs did awesome against a very good Denver defense. Let's see, and rankings down at the bottom. Rex Burkhead is a name that somebody should be picking up. Wide receivers always going to have Michael Thomas, Julio, Hopkins at the top. Really like Keenan Allen's matchup this week. Odell's matchup. Sammy Watkins. I mean, Tyreek Hill's out for a while. Who's Mahomes going to throw to? Sammy Watkins, Travis Kelce, guys out of the backfield. Tyler Boyd's the dude in Cincinnati now that AJ Green's out. I know John Ross is going to be a burner, but, Tyler Boyd's really the one you want there. And tight ends, George Kittle is going to tear people apart. Travis Kelce really hit on the Evan Ingram last week. And TJ Hawkinson's another one that he's mini Gronk. He's Gronk Jr. right now. Defense is going to try to stream each week. If you can pick up the Ravens, really can. I think the Bills have a good matchup this week. So with the Browns and the Titans, if you can stream them. Some pickups, Adrian Peterson, Hollywood Brown, John Ross, Darren Waller, Tom Brady, Malcolm Brown, Rex Burkhead, Danny Amendola, Terry McLaurin, and TJ Hawkinson. I'd like to thank my dad for joining us today. I got my Pat Bowlen Hall of Fame hat on because, we're huge Broncos fans. Like I said, we're going on vacation this week, so I may or may not get to update my picks. But we're huge Broncos fans. And one more story I want to share before I get my dad off the phones, because I know how disappointed he was that Chris Ivory's not in the league this year, because for whatever reason, my dad has luck when he drafts Chris Ivory. Now, it could be a 15th round, 16th round, but he has to roster Chris Ivory. Dad, can you tell us a little bit why you need Chris Ivory on your team and how disappointed you are that he's not on an NFL roster this year?
Well, you just went through tons of players, and some of them I know, some of them I don't. I just remember Chris Ivory on TV, and I like his name, Chris Ivory, so I just kind of picked him every year because the first year he got me a lot of points. So that's about it.
All right, we're all done here. Open and honest interview with my dad. You can find him on Twitter at Ed Capel. I'm at King Scally, and always you can find IBN Fantasy, Incarcerated Bob, IBN, just hashtag IBN. You'll find us out there. At the end of the day, you hit submit on your teams. We do the research. We do the matchups. We do everything else for you. Get at us on Sunday. I answered a bunch of questions this last weekend. I know Bob did too. So peace, love, and go Broncos.
Go Broncos.
All right, that was awesome, Dad.